Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the Managing Director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're discussing work permits here in Thailand. For those who are unaware, foreign nationals in Thailand are not allowed to work without specific work authorization. Thai law prohibits foreign nationals from working in Thailand without a work permit. Now, depending on circumstances, a work permit usually it's going to be its own document for work authorization, which is usually sort of, for lack of a better term, piggybacked on top of a business visa. So a person will have a business visa here in Thailand, and then they will have work authorization, which will be, I hesitate to say attached to it because they are two different things, but they are kind of inextricably linked. They kind of go hand in hand. You have to have one to have the other, which can lead to some catch-22 situations, which we often see here in Thailand. But long story short, in standard cases, we usually see a business visa with a work permit. Some cases you may see somebody have a marriage visa and have a work permit with their marriage visa. Again, it's going to be circumstantially dependent. As we've noted in other videos, the so-called smart visa here in Thailand has work authorization inherent to it. You don't need to have a work permit and a smart visa. The smart visa comes with inherent work authorization. Now, we've been talking recently about proposed visas such as the so-called long-term residence visa. There's supposedly going to be some sort of employment authorization associated with certain very high-end sort of iterations of that type of visa, but none of that has come to fruition yet, and until we actually see some concrete rules and regulations, it's probably not best to speculate on that at this time. I was thinking about making this video after reading a recent article in the Pattaya Mail. It's pattayamail.com. Article is titled, "Thailand's 10-year visa and property proposals, quote, won't entice many." And I thought of making this video, urge those who are watching this, go check out that article. A lot of information in there. And I'm just going to quote a small excerpt, but I do kind of want to quote this because I think there's a misnomer contained in here. I'm not really trying to point anybody out or call anybody out or do that. But oftentimes people will kind of say things or write things. I think that, yeah, you can be kind of flippant about things. But when the rubber hits the road, this can have tremendous negative ramifications for those who don't understand this stuff. So, quoting directly, "Moreover, Elite, unlike LTR, does not require any medical insurance. Elite does not carry an automatic work permit, but recent changes in immigration protocol mean that attending business meetings, working for short periods in Thailand, and even some digital nomads appear to be exempt or ignored categories." No, that's just simply not true. Now, the so-called recent changes in immigration protocol, it's not that recent. It's going back to about 2017-18. There were some changes. There were decrees put out, emergency decrees, specifically associated with work authorization. Most notably, they did liberalize work authorization location, as well as job description issues. And yes, there were some changes to relevant regulations regarding things like work permits, specifically in the context of statutorily required business meetings in a corporate context. And we discussed this going way back. Not a lot of people were watching the channel at this time because there were a lot of misnomers out there. People were saying things like, oh, well, if you've got an Amity Treaty company, you don't need a work permit. And they were basing that notion on the fact that, yeah, they had said things like a shareholder meeting, we're not going to consider that work. That's just something pro forma that must be done per Thai law. If somebody shows up and attends that meeting, we're not going to say that they were working. But virtually anything else, as we've discussed at length in other videos on this channel, can be construed as work. And for this reason, that's a total misnomer. There's not going to be anything associated with working in Thailand that's ever going to be ignored. It's been my experience that the Immigration and Labor Department are very assiduous in looking for folks that are working illegally in Thailand. It's not wise to be cavalier regarding work authorization. Thailand elite visas are not work authorized. To the best of my knowledge, these proposed LTR visas, for the most part, are not going to be work authorized, although there will be a specific subset. It's my understanding somebody who invests like 40 million baht in Thailand, for example, into real estate, yeah, it might be possible to gain work authorization that way. But as far as true work authorization, yeah, you're still going to need to get a business visa and work permit if you want to work here in the Kingdom of Thailand.